Good morning. Good morning. Today is Friday, the 13th, and I thought I just can't allow today to go by without touching base with everybody. You'll notice that I'm wearing my Mullen Lave shirt. Let me see if I can back up here so you can see it. Let me see if I can do that here a little better. Okay, and let's drop this down just a wee bit. I hope the sound is okay. Maybe you can let me know. This mic has a tendency to overmodulate, and I try to adjust it prior to, but then, for some strange reason, it always starts to get scratchy. So, can anybody let me know how this is? Yeah, we're going to talk about that, Chris Garcia, in just a minute, about McCabe. I don't want to get into a lot of detail today. I really have another reason for doing this. So the sound's okay? Is it overmodulating, or are we sounding all right? Maybe somebody can just say, yeah, sounds good. Okay, all right, we'll just go with it. I just wanted to make sure it was loud enough. Hot mic. Yeah. Okay, sound good today. Okay, like I say, this mic has a tendency to overmodulate, and I apologize for that. Okay, why did I call this thought for the day belligerently defend your rights? That's actually what it's about. I do have a degree in law, and it's come in handy a number of times. Let me show you my shirt again, because I think this is pretty important. Put this over here like this. Yeah, I'm holding the mic because I'm doing this really fast this morning. You'll also notice that I'm wearing my Army hat. This is one that I've had for a long time. I don't brag about this very much, and I don't, sure, I show that I've been in the Army, but I don't walk around town, saying I'm a vet or anything like that. But for this particular little live stream this morning, I wanted to wear it because I didn't do this. I didn't go into the service. I didn't go in to defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. To have those rights abrogated, denied, chipped away, and basically destroyed. I heard Beto O'Rourke yesterday, and he really made me sick. But that's how they are. These are leftist Marxists that their real goal isn't to protect us. Their real goal is to make us defenseless so that their red goons, their red army, can then defeat us, be it the Chinese, be it the Antifa, whatever. Setting us up with immigrants that are not really for our system, for our system of rights, etc. And I think you all know that. So I wanted to wear this to remind you that and I don't know about all the other vets, I suspect it's the same way. I know it is for Matt Bracken and Craig Sawyer and a bunches of other people. We didn't do this to then come back here and then be told that everything that we stood for, everything that we were thinking we were defending, was really just going to be decided against under some idea of democracy. And democracy is majoritarian coercion. We don't have a democracy, and I'm sick and tired of people saying it. We're supposed to be a Republican form of government, a representative Republican constitutional republic, with guaranteed rights that the government is chartered to protect. And unfortunately, especially on the Democrat side, but don't kid yourself, a lot of rhinos are the same way. And then we have Soros, who is now basically giving money for this push against the Second Amendment. Millions of dollars, I understand. And this is bad. This is all bad. But it's typical. And unfortunately, as I've called out Trump before, he has not been strong enough on the First, Second, and Fourth Amendments. He hasn't. And he's done a lot of other good things. We can talk about that. Just a lot of good things. I appreciate all of the hard work he's done in so many areas, but he's been really, really lax in the Bill of Rights and the constitutional issues. And I won't address that again today. But what I did want to say is that there was a lady that I saw on Twitter today, and I think she put it very well. In the past, what I've said is that, again, when our government officials take that oath of office, it's not to be taken lightly, and anybody who violates that oath of office by trying to infringe upon our rights should be arrested, not just thrown out of office. They'll never change the law because they have too much power now, but that's really what it should have come down to, and I wish the Constitution had that in there, that if they seek to abrogate our constitutional Bill of Rights in any way, shape, or form, that they can be arrested, not just waited to be thrown out of office. But normally, like I say, I usually say that to Trump and to all of these political people, I said, your responsibility isn't to protect us. That's not what you swore an oath to do. You swore an oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States, which includes the Bill of Rights, which should be inviolate and non-negotiable. Now, inherent in that responsibility comes the protection of us under safety. If we trade safety for security, we get neither, right? So, or freedom rather, safety. If we trade safety and security, if we trade liberty for safety and security, then we get neither. So on Twitter today, and this is one reason why I wanted to come on, because this is really important, considering what Beto O'Rourke said. And I saw this Texas state representative who said, yeah, Beto, my AR-15's here waiting for you. Well, Beto O'Rourke has threatened us with a life-threatening accusation and intent, as far as I'm concerned. And this California or the Texas representative said, okay, Beto O'Rourke, I'm waiting for you. That may have been over the top, but I understand what he was saying. How come these politicians can threaten us with losing our lives and our property, and yet they get all upset, and they're leftist Marxist little bastards and bitches, and I'm going to say it, can say how horrible it is that we're going to belligerently defend our rights. Again, I'm going back to several court cases I've been involved in and others that I've seen where people have come in to argue for some constitutional right that they have. And if they're granted that, it's because the court says you have to belligerently defend your rights, both in court and outside. They mean both. And also that was also said to me directly, and I attempted to do that. It didn't do me much good. But the point is, it's time for us to belligerently defend. So we have to get back in the faces of these people that keep saying that they can do this to us. As Colonel Cooper there says on my thing there, right on the right side of the screen that you're saying, the felon must be made to fear his victim. He doesn't fear the government. He doesn't fear the police. And he's not going to obey any gun laws or knife laws or bat laws or anything else. The responsibility for our protection must rest with us. So let me read this, what she said here. Her name is the Red-Headed Libertarian. Outstanding. And this is what she says, quote, "The most egregious long game pulled off by the American government was convincing 150 million people, of course we're over 300 now, that the government's job is to protect us from each other in the face of a document written specifically to protect us from them, the government." So let me read that again without interruption. The most egregious long game pulled off by the American government was convincing 150 million people that the government's job is to protect us from each other in the face of a document written specifically to protect us from them. And that's what the Constitution's about, and the Bill of Rights. We can protect ourselves from our neighbors, and if we need assistance, we call the police. And if we go outside the bounds of law, in other words, if you shoot somebody, and it's not justified based on any number of situations. I know there are states that say if you even pull the trigger, you've got a problem. But I think sensibly we know what we're talking about. Somebody tries to take your life or threaten your life or the life of someone else, your family members, whatever, you have a right to defend that up to and including the use of deadly force. You must belligerently defend that right. Okay? So if we can do that individually, we're not going to need the government to be there to do that for us. We can do it ourselves. Now, people say, well, we can't have, the Wild West, people running around with guns. We already do. The problem is too many of them are the bad guys. Okay, and the laws don't stop them, of course, from carrying weapons, as we all know. Now, what about the AR-15? Well, it's not a military weapon. It looks like a military weapon, and it is semi-automatic, has a high magazine capacity if you have a high capacity magazine, but it is in fact not a weapon of war. It is a weapon of self-defense. It's been used, as I've said, as any tool can be, for bad things. But the answer to this, of course, is not to interfere with the rights of law-abiding citizens, because the real mass murderer in history is not the lone gunman, it's not the crazy, it's not even the political assassin. It's government. And as this lady said, the document, the Constitution of the United States and its appendages and the Bill of Rights are not to protect us from each other, have the government protect us from each other. We can handle that on our own. The purpose of that document is to protect us and our God-given rights that they're supposed to protect. That document's to protect us from them and the government. And I include you, Beto O'Rourke, and all the rest of you scumbags. You're trying to, if you don't like the system of government here in the United States. Now, it does say that when the government the Declaration of Independence says, if a government becomes opposing the rights of the people, if it becomes difficult, it has the right of the people to change it. Now, I understand we're set up like that, but that Bill of Rights is inviolate. Non-negotiable, Beto, whatever the hell your name is. I hope you get a copy of this. And if you think otherwise, we're going to be here to belligerently defend our rights. I guarantee you. The courts call for that, okay? And morality calls for that. So I just wanted to bring those things up. I didn't do the Army thing to come back and have these scumbag politicians doing their little legalese and sweet talk, and the pussyfooters that run around in this nation and want a government to protect them, because government cannot protect you. I didn't come back here to have those types of people use majoritarian coercion under some idea of democracy and say that we don't have these God-given rights. And they're not going to take them from us, okay? Not without us belligerently defending them. So that's all I have for you this morning. I didn't want to make this long. I don't really have a plan. I'm going to talk a little bit about McCabe and this whole thing, but I'm waiting for a few days, because the mere so the problem with the McCabe deal is that I've got to see this go to fruition. No, like DeGeneva, I realize that a jury could let him off. I understand that. But the DOJ has been negligent. Actually, there's been dereliction of duty there, and actually crimes committed. And so I don't know if Barr's going to actually follow through with this. Like I said, I fully expected that McCabe would probably go down, even though Tom Fitton was starting to doubt, and I was wondering too on that last deal that he sent out that I posted. McCabe has to go. I figure McCabe will go down, Strzok, Page, maybe a few others, maybe Comey, but I doubt it'll even get to Brennan. I just don't know at this point. McCabe is the first step. If the DOJ is serious and this isn't some game they're playing, which they do often, trust me, if this is serious, then McCabe better have a security team. He better have food tasters and people like that, because if you think Epstein would be taken out, I wouldn't doubt that McCabe would too. So there are some people that have said that the reason why his defense team put this information out in the news is because they were warning everybody else. It was a preemptive warning about what's coming, so that they could get their story straight or flee the country or whatever that they're going to do, try to take out Trump, whatever. So this is a very dangerous time. So that's really all I have. And Yeah, there are so many things we could talk about. I see End of Reds here saying, speak on Israel caught spying on Trump. Does that surprise us? No, it's like I've said, I don't mind Israel being guaranteed to stay a state, but they're not the biblical Israel that is talked about in the Bible. I don't care what anybody says, anybody. And they should be called on the carpet for the things they do wrong. And it doesn't matter whether a person's a Catholic, an agnostic, an atheist, a Jew, a Christian, a Buddhist, a Hindu. You get my point. It doesn't matter what they are. If they do wrong, be they individuals or states, they should be called out for what they're doing wrong. That's not anti-Semitism. That's saying what's right and what's wrong. And Israel has done a lot of bad things. Remember the situation with the Liberty, USS Liberty. Good example. And, we've had other Israeli spies that have been caught over the years, and now this thing here. No, I don't like Israel, frankly. I don't like it at all. I don't like what it pretends to be, because it isn't what it pretends to be. But as a nation state, I do believe that it has a right to exist. But I don't hold it in any type of divine nature. Can it change suddenly? Could all of a sudden things change? Yeah, but that doesn't mean I have to accept it right now, and I don't. So that was wrong, but it's typical. And they're probably doing it because they knew that, they've done it anyway, but with Trump getting rid of Bolton, one of the great things that he's done in the last little while, getting rid of Bolton, a warmonger, a war hawk, a neocon Trotskyite, I'd like to call him a few other names, and there are a lot of them out there. Getting rid of Bolton, of course, was done apparently from what we've heard because Bolton disagreed with Trump wanting to talk to Iran and try to bring peace in the world instead of more war. And I suspect that with Israel being what it is, it wanted Bolton to get the upper hand there and to cause a war with Iran, which is totally unnecessary. As I've said, we could solve the Iran problem by just dropping this whole Russiagate baloney that's already been disproved, but the Democrats and the leftists want to keep pushing it. Make friendship, make a strong alliance with Russia, and that would solve the Iran problem in a day. But at any rate, that's one of the great things that Trump has done, and that was probably counter to what Israel would have liked. So I'm not so sure that he's entirely in their pocket, okay? Again, on the McCabe thing, this is a great development. However, I'm suspicious still. And people will say, Roy, you should have trusted Trump. Look, you should have trusted Barr. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you start trusting politicians is the moment you start losing your rights, first of all, and eventually your lives. You always hold their feet to the fire. It's always the best thing to do. Never assume that they're your friends. Remember what she said here, the red-headed libertarian. Remember what she said. The most egregious long game pulled off by the American government was convincing 150 million people that the government's job is to protect us from each other in the face of a document written specifically to protect us from them. Okay? Remember that. Well, that's all I've got for you. Yeah, do not trust anyone in politics. Absolutely. Not even Trump. And that's why, I've even seen Alex Jones accuse him of violating his oath of office and going back on his promises and becoming soft with the Democrat leftists, attacking our constitutional rights. Look at the red flag laws that he's supported. And then he wanted to go with his mental thing, which is that's totally Stalinist, as most of you should know. Yeah, and Liza Jean Williams, hello, how are you? Thank you for being here. She's one of the moderators. She says, I don't hold my breath that any criminal politicians will be duly prosecuted. Me either. And that's unfortunate. And that's why I say that anybody who violates their oath of office and attempts to take away, certainly if they try to overthrow the government, the constitutional republic, and also if they try to take away our God-given rights that they are duty-bound to protect, that should be a reason for arrest and prosecution as well. Val, I know a lot of people don't trust Alex Jones, and that's fine. But you got to admit, a lot of this wouldn't have happened without him. That's just the fact. Is he COINTELPRO? No. Is he Stratfor? No. He might have contacts with those people, but Alex has done a lot. And as I've explained in the past, any of his, I don't, as you know, I think he got too big. He got so big that he has to worry about paying bills rather than getting information out. And I think that's a mistake that he's made. He's always saying, well, you're either growing or you're contracting. There's nothing wrong with staying homeostasis, staying the same. And just doing change-ups once in a while. But he had this idea that he had to keep growing, and that's really where the problem is. And unfortunately, I can't stand to listen to most of his shows because they are one continual run-on commercial, and that's unfortunate. But a lot of the stress that he's been under for a number of years and the PTSD I'm sure he has is understandable. So I look at the overall benefit that he's done, and I think it's been fantastic, actually. There's no evidence to say he's a shill. He's like anybody else. If you want to talk about shills, why don't we talk about CNN or MSNBC? Why do you always have to come off on Alex? If you change. Nobody claims to have the truth absolutely. You call it as you see it, and it may not agree with you. Alex isn't there to demand your undying loyalty. He's there to give the information. You accept it or reject it. And sometimes he's got good stuff, and sometimes he doesn't. Look at TruthStream Media. Aaron and Melissa Dykes used to work at InfoWars, and they left because they didn't like Alex's style. They didn't like some of the things that he pushed, and obviously some of the things that he maybe took out of context or out of proportion. But those are still minor compared to what you deal with on the MSN. Okay? And look at the attacks that have been made against him by the deep state. They're not going to do that to a friend, okay? So let's not unjustly and unrighteously attack Alex and call him names, because it just isn't the case. This is interesting. Jack Kennedy, Roy, look into how Trump met Melania at Ghislaine Maxwell's private millionaire hookup club, the Kit Kat. Ghislaine was with Epstein, made that match. Oh, I have no doubt that at that level of society, you're going to rub elbows with these people. I worked with people in the CFR. I worked with CFR people. I'm not one of them. Just because you get invited to a party doesn't mean you're like that, okay? Especially at that high society, position. That's just not that important to consider. Pam Jones, howdy. Yeah, pedophile exposure project. Everybody, Pam Jones for Liberty. She's done an outstanding job talking about this pedophile thing, which is now hopefully going to be exposed even more. Of course, the powers that be are trying to keep that under wraps as far as the upper levels are concerned, as we know. Which is why Epstein's not around. I don't know if he was killed. I don't know if he committed suicide. I don't know if he was just whisked away. The bottom line is he's not available for testimony, and that's the real problem. But Pam Jones does a great thing. Go check her channel out. She's always done great work, great graphic artist and video maker. So please go look at her material. All right, well, that's all I've got, and I'm going to let you go. There's a lot of things happening today. We want to get some more information here on what the deal is with McCain and these others. Remember to belligerently defend your rights. That means you don't let the city council, the state legislature, the county, however your county is set up, you don't let these people just come in and dictate to you that you're going to have to, give up this right or give up this piece of property or especially give up any particular weapon, okay? You go in and you belligerently defend that, and belligerently means you get in their face. And at some point in time, as Mac Bracken has said, if they come physically to take it, they're going to have a fight on their hands, okay? And I know that's the case with a lot of good vets, okay, and probably for a lot of us. So at any rate, that's the thought for the day. Belligerently defend your rights across the board. In courts, in city councils, in county government, in state government, and certainly at the federal level. Okay? Belligerently defend those rights. That's all I've got. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen. Again, like I said, I didn't do this to now have this majoritarian coercion democracy set up that's really based on Stalinist Soviet Union communism, to tell us that we can't exercise our rights. And any person who's taken an oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States and has actually stood in the breach has a right to say that. There are those who'll say, "Oh no, you don't." I've seen. I think that Texas Senator Crenshaw was saying, "Oh, you don't need an AR-15." He's off the rails on that. He's off the rails. He knows very damn well that that's probably the best self-defensive weapon. Again, it can be used like a screwdriver. It can be used as a weapon or as a screwdriver. What are you going to do? Ban all the screwdrivers? Oh, it's the number of people you can hurt. My answer to that, I don't even try to argue that. What I say is, if the people have the right to protect themselves, which they do under the Constitution, there would never be that many casualties, number one. And number two, the system that has caused more death and destruction in the world than the lone gunman or even a group of criminals, civilian criminals, are governments. Governments are the big murderers in history, and the only thing that stops it is an armed citizenry. Okay, that's all I got. Hey, everybody, thanks for coming. Sometime next week, after I see what's going on with this thing on McCabe and where it's really going, I heard. I'm not sure who it was. Some commentator was saying, well, I think it was an attorney. I think it was Barnes on Alex Jones. Alex, I think, asked him how long would it be before the indictment really comes out. And here we go. Even Barnes says, well, it could be tomorrow, it could be next week, it could be 4 or 5 months from now. You see, so I'm going to do the Dan Bongino thing. I'm waiting 72 hours to see what's going on here. Okay, maybe longer, but we'll probably come on and do an extensive live stream next week. And yeah, Elizabeth already talked about Bolton being gone. We'll come on next week and talk a little bit. I do have a few spiritual things I want to touch on again, and we'll do it then. I might put up a recorded video between now and then. I'm planning on being out somewhere where, it might be nice to have a little scenery. We'll see. And, we'll go from there. All right. Yeah, Tony Blassetti says, that would be good advice, 72 hours and then all hell breaks loose after that. Yeah, that can be too. But everybody knows what's going on. I just need to. I'm sorry, I still can't trust Barr. I just can't. Not with his history. Has he had an epiphany? Has he had a change of heart? Not when he says he doesn't like the Fourth Amendment and the Second. That's what I mean. I've got problems with that. And again, as I mentioned in a short situation last week, I don't know that I trust. Well, I've never trusted Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump being in there in the White House. I don't trust them, and I wish that Eric and Don Jr. were there instead. And I know a lot of people that feel the same way. So we'll talk a little bit sometime next week. I was going to do it this week, but I'm still, like I said, I kind of want to watch things for a little bit. And we'll talk about Ivanka and Jared. No, I don't trust them, and I think they're bad for the country. I think they are. I think that what they are is that they're the liberal noise in Trump's ear. And he'll say that he likes to hear all sides, okay? Well, that side is not necessary or correct to have anymore. There is no more negotiation, as I and Dan Bongino said. This rift between the left and the right, between good and evil, is irreparable, and it will never again be joined together. And as a matter of fact, it will end up ripping this country apart, and it's ripping the world apart. And as Jesus said, I have not come to bring peace but a sword, to the dividing asunder. In other words, to divide that good and evil. It's not a pleasant thing to go through. But we, as I've said, need to embrace this division and make sure that we're on the right side. Okay. Hey, thanks everybody for coming. Go check out all the other things that are going on, and we'll see you probably sometime next week. Like I say, I might have a recording up shortly. Well, maybe by the first of the week. But we'll do a live chat again, live stream probably the middle of next week, depending upon what happens here with this McCabe thing. All right. Yeah, Elizabeth Kilmus, I might say, there's the other side of that. Sorry, I keep going on here, but this is important. A house divided against itself shall not stand. It's a principle. You don't have to think about Jesus saying it's just obvious. And we are a house divided, and this division is necessary. It just is at this point. Okay, well, I did quit. I'm not doing these on any serious level anymore. Actually, if you don't like me doing it, that's all right. Go away. That's all right. Yeah, fast 30 minutes. Yeah, I know, Val. Yeah, not a fast 30 minutes. Okay, I'm out. We'll see you, like I said, sometime next week. All right. Thanks for coming. Enjoy your weekend. Today's the 13th. By the way, 13th is a good number. It's not a bad number. It wasn't good for Jacques de Molay and the Templars, but as far as the day that happened. But number 13 is actually a good number. Okay. Enjoy it. We'll see you.